Hi everyone, I'm Tyler Red. I'm one of the staff here at Freedom Fighters of Georgia, and I'm just going to give you all a brief testimony and share a little bit about what the program has done in my life. I'm originally from South Carolina. I grew up with both of my parents. I had 3 siblings. They were out of the house by the time I was 8 years old, so I grew up pretty much an only child. I didn't need for anything. I got more than I deserved. I had great parents. They brought me to church. And they taught me well. I was a bright kid. I played soccer, basketball, I skateboarded, but from a young age, I liked to get away with doing the wrong thing. I learned that I could manipulate people. I stole stuff. I started watching pornography, and because I had opened up those doors, I think that was a big reason why, I ended up making the decision to get high when I did. So I tried smoking weed for the first time when I was 15. It was the summer after 9th grade, before my sophomore year of high school. Me and a few buddies went on a trip, and I tried it and fell in love with it. I told myself I was only going to smoke weed, that was all I would do. It was natural. But when I got into the 10th grade, there was a girl that I liked, and she showed me some attention, and we dated shortly, and then she broke up with me, had my heart broken, and I remember making this decision. I was like, I know what'll fix this, and I went and got high, and because I was crying and I was hurt, and that was a decision I made in my heart, and I didn't realize it, but I was telling myself, these substances, or at the time, this substance is going to help me through this pain. And that is the attitude I carried on throughout my whole addiction. I ended up crossing those moral boundaries, saying, that I was only going to smoke weed. In the 10th grade, I tried codeine, and then I tried Xanax, and that same week I got expelled from school. I went to a mental hospital. I ended up going to alternative school after getting expelled, and I was hanging around kids that were doing drugs that weren't good influences, and I wasn't a good influence on them either. And I just started dabbling with more drugs, trying new things, different prescription medication. Tried drinking when I was 17. Then I ended up going to a program when I was 17 for the first time. I was still playing games. I didn't want to let go of that lifestyle. Found a way to drink in that program. It was only 45 days long. And then when I got out of that, it was my junior year of high school. That's when things really took off. Started really getting bad off on prescription medications, Xanax, and oxycodone, stuff like that, and started depending on it daily. I was always looking for my next fix, and that came at whatever cost, whether it was stealing money from my parents, stealing from friends, selling things to get money to feed my addiction. I would do whatever. I ended up getting involved with a girl at that time in my life, and that was a really bad situation. We were on and off for 4 years, and there was just a lot of pain and strife caused between the both of us in that relationship, but I really mistreated her. And, I put drugs before her. I put drugs before anybody in my life. My family, my mother, my father. It became my sole focus. All I wanted to do was get high and drink. I ended up getting expelled 2 more times in my 11th grade year. I had some run-ins with law enforcement, shoplifting, minor in possession of alcohol. And then when I turned 18, it was only by God's grace and my loving mother that I graduated high school. She didn't want me to do another year in that school. So I graduated, but by the skin of my teeth, and really I probably shouldn't have. But I had given up trying. I didn't care about school anymore. I just wanted to get high. It had taken over my life. It had me in its grips, and at this point I had experimented with psychedelic drugs, and it just continued to progress. When I turned 18, I got arrested for a DUI. I had this big situation with my parents where I had assaulted both of them, and that really hurt them. And you know, they ended up letting me come and live with them for a little bit after I got out of jail, but I tried to move away when I was 19 to go get a fresh start. That didn't end up happening because I found pills out there. Still wasn't ready to let go of that lifestyle. And I had just gone through another program that the court mandated me to go to after I got out of jail for that whole situation with my parents. Then I tried to move away, and of course, you know, you take you with you wherever you go. So I ended up coming back to Aiken after I had a falling out with my brother and his roommate because of, you know, I was stealing money. And you know, when I was living in Charleston, I ended up trying cocaine for the first time. That's something I said I would never do. I judged people who did that, but I crossed another moral boundary. Then whenever I was from ages 20 to 21, things were really bad for me. Somehow I managed to hold down a job at a pizza joint for about 13 months before I came to Freedom Fighters to get help. But things were just not good at that point in time in my life. I was just still heavily addicted. When I turned 21, I could buy alcohol legally, so I would just buy beer every day or whatever it was just to numb out. And I was just extremely depressed. I had no hope in life. I never thought that I would get out of addiction. I tried heroin at that point in time in my life when I was 21, and it was just getting darker and darker. And because my aunt met one of the staff out here while he was out selling plants, raising money for the ministry, she got contact information for this place, and I ended up coming here. And you know, I really had to face who I was and make a tough decision, because this program is not easy to stick it out and really face the man in the mirror. I had to take responsibility for all the people that I hurt and the ways that I hurt them, and look at that in specifics and share about that. And you know, God really used this process to open my eyes to see how much I had made my whole life about me, and I had no regard for how I made others feel. I was extremely selfish. I was extremely manipulative. I would do anything for myself, and I had no regard for others. And you know, I really hurt a lot of people because of that. And whenever you're on drugs, you make a lot of decisions that are bizarre, and I made a lot of bizarre decisions. And you know, I had to share and be honest about the things that I did in my past, and that was very embarrassing. It was very shameful, but the men here loved me through it, and they didn't judge me at all. They related to me, they prayed for me, they told me the truth and held me accountable, but they didn't look at me any different. And that was something that really helped me stay here. And then, you know, once ever you get further into the program, you have to make amends. I had to take responsibility for my actions, and I had to write amends letters to people that I hurt. And that was one of the hardest things I had to do, because for a long time I couldn't really empathize for people. I was in such a fantasy from my drug use that I didn't realize the severity of some of my actions, and I didn't feel what I should have felt in those moments that I did hurt those people. And I had to invite the Lord into my heart and say, Lord, help me to feel for these people. And he did, and he brought me to my knees and helped me to get to a place of brokenness and repentance to where I gave my heart over to him, and like he came in and healed certain things inside of my heart that only he could have done. And it's a miracle what he did in my life. It's a miracle that I'm here today, and I'm beyond grateful for what Freedom Fighters did in my life. And once I got into the fourth block of the program, it's a block called Inner Healing, I was able to deal with wounds that people caused me, because I was in a place of maturity where I was ready to deal with those things. I had grown closer to the Lord. I was at a place where I was willing to be vulnerable to that level, to revisit some of my childhood wounds, to visit some of the wounds that have been caused by some of my significant others, some of those relationships that I had mentioned earlier. And really a big thing for me was forgiving myself. There's certain things that I did and certain moral boundaries that I crossed and ways that I hurt people, specifically my mother. One situation I could not let myself off the hook for. I could not forgive myself for, but I eventually made that choice to, and God really helped me walk in freedom and understand I'm not that person anymore, that I'm a new creation in Christ. And after that block of inner healing, I went to the last block of the program, the last phase, and it's called discipleship. And that's really what this program is. It's the discipleship program. But in that block, I really just started going after it and just taking it a lot more serious. I wanted to do the right thing. I had a deep desire to do so. I was being honest about the mistakes that I was making. I was walking in the freedom that I had from being broken down in regeneration, which is the third block where you write the amends letters, then just dealing with those deep wounds and inner healing. And I just was walking in a lot of freedom. I had peace and contentment that I didn't understand, that only came from the Lord, and I was just energized and ready to serve God, and I was on fire for him. And I'm just so grateful that I had that, and I've continued to carry that on throughout the years because of this place. They offered the internship. I stayed here after graduating, and I'm thankful that I listened to the wise counsel that told me to do that. Because if I would have left immediately after graduating, I think I definitely would have relapsed. But because I had that structure and accountability in my life still, even after graduating, I had a safe place to share and be vulnerable with, and I had men around me who knew me from the inside out that could point things out in my life that they were seeing. It kept me on the right track, kept me focused, and I'm just beyond grateful for where I'm at today. God has restored me to my family, and he's restored me to people that I never thought I would be in their lives again. He's allowed me to minister to people from my past. He's given me new friends, solid friends that love me deeply and care for me. And my life, I couldn't ask for anything else. It's only by God's grace that I'm able to even share this with you guys today. I was in addiction for close to 7 years, and I could have died of a drug overdose, or I had a few car wrecks during that time period I could have died in. I could be in prison right now, but because of God's grace, he brought me here because he loved me enough to set me on a new path. And now I walk with purpose. I know my worth. I don't let the past drag me down. I help other men who are in the same boat that I was, and in the bondage that I was in. And I'm forever grateful for that. I'm grateful for the freedom that I have today, and I'm not stuck in the muck and the mire that I was. And I'm just thankful for the staff here and all the work that they put into my life. Now they're my friends. And life is good, man. Life is good. So this place has done a lot for me, and I'm just thankful for the way that Jesus got a hold of me here.